Let me guess, you signed up for every free lead magnet and binged on every marketing YouTube video and thought, what am I missing? Why isn't my business exploding like that? Well, I can tell you, you're not alone. Whether you're just getting started or have an established business, entrepreneurship can be really lonely. But it doesn't have to be. Overcoming your fear of launching or building your personal brand or figuring out how to scale, it shouldn't be holding you back. It should be empowering you. On this podcast, we're going to deep dive into the mechanics of what it takes to build your brand, make your mark, and stake your claim in the digital marketing space. I'll be chatting with people from all walks of life and stages in their careers. I will be getting inspiration from real experts who will share their actual strategies and techniques to grow loyal and raving followings and sell more stuff. This is entrepreneurship from people who are already there making it happen. My name is Jeff Mendelson. Join me and welcome to the One Big Tip podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. Today, I'm speaking with Samantha Lane, who is a time management guru at origamiday.com. And she is going to help us through some really great tips on how to prepare yourself for the coming week. Real excited to hear about this. So, Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Samantha, you and I talked a little bit in the pre-call about your hero's journey. You weren't always this time management, super efficient, uber productive person. You had a life-changing event, and that has caused you to look into how you or anyone else can manage their time better. I'd like to learn a little bit more about what it is that has brought you to this point, and then we can talk about your one big tip on how to help people manage their week as they're creating their planning.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people can probably relate to who I call past me. She was very much an ambitious workaholic, kind of going through what she thought the American dream was. You grow up, you go to school, you get a job, you hustle, you have a house, you have the car, you go on the vacations, you do all the things. And the reality is that life can be really taxing and really difficult for a lot of us. And we find ourselves in this place of struggle, really, where we're not living the life that we wanted. We're working a lot, and work is coming first and life is coming second. And so when I was 29 years old, I ended up having to have my chest cut open. And it was a planned surgery to fix a chest wall deformity that I had been diagnosed with. But what I couldn't have planned for was all the complications. And I had a lot of complications. And that ended up being a long recovery. But the beauty of it was it helped me realize how short life can be and how beautiful and finite our time is. And it made me realize that you could live a better life and job love is a real thing. And it just sort of started me down this road of managing my time better to have true work-life balance.
So you mentioned job life and true life balance. Those are two terms that I would say are pretty foreign to a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you take those concepts and apply them to your day-to-day? It's not just about writing a to-do list or organizing your thoughts in a certain way. There's a little bit more to it than that, right?
Oh, there's a lot to it because we've taken our entire lives to develop it into the current version of ourselves. And for anyone who's struggling right now, you didn't just get to this struggle overnight. You built habits that came here. You relaxed boundaries that brought you here. And so much of what I try to help people do is very much a holistic approach where we talk about mindset and visioning and habit formation, but also I'm big on tactical. I think that's one of the reasons I like this podcast is, I used to go to conferences and leave feeling more empowered and motivated, but then I didn't know what the first step was. So I try very hard to make sure that whenever I work with people, whether it's individuals or companies, that we are both motivated and very confronted by the reality of our finite time, but then we know exactly what that first step needs to be to live a better life.
So that's actually a nice segue into your one big tip, which is Friday planning sessions. And I found this quite interesting because Friday is the end of the week, right? It's not the beginning, right?
Yes.
And you have a great plan for how to set that up because on Friday, you're still in work mode for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like most people, you don't want to think about it on Saturday. You certainly don't want to think about it on Sunday. And then you have those people who, have a case of the Mondays. If you saw that movie Office Space, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your one big tip, Friday planning sessions. How does that work?
Yeah, Friday planning sessions, they sound so simple and there are so many layers to why they're amazing. So let's start with this. The simple fact that, yeah, Friday is still part of your work week. It's a beautiful way to wrap up the week that you're in while preparing for the week ahead. So I have worked in sales and marketing in the past, and especially in that industry, but really in any industry, follow up is key. If you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. And so one of the beauties of Friday planning session is it gives you this moment to stop and kind of look back and say, okay, in the past 5 days, what have I said I'm going to do? And how do I wrap up and ensure that I do that before the weekend happens and I forget? And so that's one of the things I love about it is it gives you this amazing way to wrap up and celebrate successes for the week while also preparing for the following. Because one of the things that I used to struggle with is what I call Sunday scaries. So Sunday morning would roll around and I'd be happy for all of 3 minutes. And then I would have just crushing anxiety and stress over the week ahead and everything I needed to get done and how behind I felt. And so what I found was making my plan on Friday really ensured that those Sunday scaries didn't happen anymore, because Monday morning I was able to simply wake up, look at my plan, and hit the ground running.
What does a Friday plan look like? There is a structure to it, right? This isn't just committing bullet points to a piece of paper. Is that correct?
Sure. The reality is someone doing a Friday planning session with no structure is still going to be better than not doing one at all. So there's that.
Okay.
But I find that planning can be very strategic to maximize our output. The undercurrent of my business is the realization that time is finite. We cannot make any more. And so what I help people understand is, how do you respect that time and how do you make the most of that time? So the structure that I teach people with Friday planning is to simply start by, I encourage people to use a Origami Day folding weekly planning sheet, which is the product that I created during my recovery. And we can circle back to that if you'd like. But you essentially get that sheet and you map out the entire week in advance. And you start with what you know. So this is usually things that are set to happen at a specific time. So maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a podcast interview, maybe it's dropping your child off at school, maybe it's, going to a workout class. Things that are going to happen at a specific time. You start with those items. And then hopefully you have white space. And you see in that white space, that's actually when you're going to get anything else done besides what you've already committed to. So then you fill in, what are the things you hope to get done? And so maybe that's going to the grocery store, running by the bank, any of the things that are on your to-do list. A lot of times we spend so much time in meetings or phone calls that we actually don't schedule time to do the traction-based pieces of our jobs. And so those are the things that you might want to specifically schedule. And then once that plan is in place, then I encourage what I call digital reinforcement. So that is sort of, planning on paper is good for so many reasons. And unfortunately, we don't have time to go into that. But planning on paper and using digital tools like a calendar invite to reinforce certain items is really effective. So an example of something you might use digital reinforcement for could be communicating the start and end time of a meeting and perhaps maybe a video chat link. So using that digital reinforcement to communicate information that someone needs to know to help be effective in that particular action item.
Okay, so you're not advocating for any particular app at this point, right? It's basically whatever works for you, whether it's your Google Calendar or Todoist or Things
Yeah.
or Outlook or whatever it is. They all
Yes,
work within this framework.
Completely. And that's one of the things that I like about this structure and the way I've built a business is all about simplicity. I'm not about us adding more. Let's take away and let's focus on what do the things that we already have, what can they do for us? And so I use my Google Calendar and my email for digital reinforcement. And that's enough.
Imagine that. So you don't have to download yet another app. Wow.
No.
It's like keeping your phone clean as well. That's a great plan. Samantha, can you please tell people where they can reach out to you, learn more about this method, where they can download this the worksheet that you mentioned?
Yeah, so there's two places that usually are sort of the quickest. One is social media. As much as I talk about healthy social media for work-life balance, there is some benefit in it. So people can find me on all the social media channels at my Origami Day, or the website is origamiday.com. And we'll go ahead and get a page specifically for the podcast to include the digital download. So if people want to go to origamiday.com/one-big-tip, then we'll make sure and have that digital download there.
That is great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm really excited to get a hold of that download and actually start to implement it. I'd like to see, just how well I'm able to, increase the number of things that I'm able to do during the day or even during the week. So really appreciate that tip.
Yeah, it's a good one. I can't wait to hear how people like it.
Cool. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.